My name is Jones, and I've been a prisoner to porn addiction for the past 30 years. It's been a long and painful journey, a battle I've fought every day of my life, an addiction that has consumed me, gnawed at my existence, and left me feeling empty and alone. It's taken away the best years of my life, robbed me of my dreams, and left my relationships in shambles. Today, as I sit here, I can't help but wonder why I've allowed this addiction to define me, to control me. I've decided to share my story, not because it's unique or extraordinary, but because it's real. I want to shed light on the darkness that has enveloped me for so long. I believe that by opening up about my struggles, I can begin to heal and perhaps help others who are going through the same ordeal. Let's take a walk down memory lane to the time when it all started. My addiction didn't just spring up overnight. It was a slow and steady process, rooted in my troubled childhood. Growing up, our home was a battleground. My parents, locked in an endless cycle of arguments and cold silences, left me feeling isolated and alone. I was just 6 years old when I stumbled upon a stash of adult magazines hidden away in a dusty corner of our attic. They provided an escape, a world far removed from the shouting and the tears. Fred, my childhood friend, was a few years older than me. We shared a love for football, comic books, and those hidden magazines. But then Fred discovered something even more captivating: hardcore pornography. He was eager to share his newfound treasure, and I, young and naive, was all too willing to delve into this forbidden world. The explicit images were shocking yet strangely fascinating. It was a secret, wild world that we had uncovered, a world that promised an escape from the harsh reality of my home life. Every time the arguments at home became unbearable, I found solace in those explicit images. The more intense the fights got, the deeper I sank into the world of pornography. Fred and I would spend hours in front of his old, battered computer screen, our young minds absorbing images that they were far too young to process. It was our secret, our refuge. It made us feel grown up, powerful. Yet beneath the surface, it was starting to take hold of my life, warping my perception of relationships and setting me on a path of self-destruction. In hindsight, I can see how this unhealthy coping mechanism, born out of a desperate need for escape, was slowly turning into a full-blown addiction. I was just a child, unable to comprehend the gravity of what I was getting myself into. Little did I know that this temporary escape would turn into a lifelong struggle. As I grew older, my addiction became more severe. It was no longer just an escape, it became a necessity. This was the reality of my teenage years. My addiction escalated, taking over my life like a shadow I couldn't shake off. It consumed me, dictating my daily routines and shaping my decisions. I was isolated, trapped in a world of my own making. I remember the countless nights I spent alone, engulfed in the addictive grasp of pornography while my peers were out there living their teenage years to the fullest. My academic life suffered, my grades plummeted, my social life? That was a concept that barely existed for me. The more I tried to fit in, the more I felt the chasm of my addiction widening, separating me from the normalcy of teenage life. I was an outsider in my own life. I thought it was just a phase, that I would grow out of it, but I was wrong. My addiction didn't just stay in my personal life, it followed me into my professional life as well. It was like an unwelcome shadow, always lurking behind me, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, to disrupt my focus, to lead me astray. In the early days of my career, I was brimming with ambition, ready to make a mark in the world, but my addiction had other plans. It started with small hiccups. I would lose focus during important meetings, unable to keep my mind off the next opportunity to indulge in my addiction. The more I tried to suppress these thoughts, the stronger they came back, like a boomerang. This constant distraction affected my performance. I missed deadlines, made errors in reports, and started losing the trust of my colleagues and superiors. I could see the disappointment in their eyes, but I felt helpless, trapped in the vicious cycle of my addiction. It's not only me who's suffering. My addiction has broken many hearts along the way. The world of pornography created an illusion that twisted my perception of reality, leading to insurmountable trust issues. I was constantly comparing my partners to the unrealistic standards set by the porn industry, causing a rift in my relationships. My first love left me, unable to bear the burden of my addiction. My second relationship crumbled too, as the shadow of my addiction loomed large. My friends distanced themselves, unable to comprehend the gravity of my situation. The addiction that I thought was my refuge turned out to be the architect of my isolation. My world became a lonely place, inhabited only by the ghosts of broken relationships. I wish I could turn back time and rectify my mistakes, but all I can do now is to prevent others from falling into this abyss. I'm sharing my story, not for sympathy, but for help. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please reach out. It's never too late to seek help. I'm not proud of my past, but I'm determined to change my future. It's an arduous journey, confronting the shadows that lurk within us, shadows that we've nurtured for years. I've made my decision. I'm reaching out for help because I realize that this is a battle I cannot fight alone. I'm not doing this just for me, but for every person out there who might be in the same shoes, feeling trapped and hopeless. Addiction is a demon that thrives in silence and solitude. But remember, it's never too late to seek help, to break the chains that bind us to our past. Change is possible, recovery is achievable, and a brighter future is within reach. All it takes is the courage to admit that we need help, the strength to face our demons, and the determination to reclaim our lives. I'm Jones, and this is my story, but it doesn't have to be yours.